Okay, good afternoon from Eretz Yisrael. Good morning to you. Yesterday we saw this halacha of a meitzar and a chotzev. We said a meitzar is some type of demarcation. A chotzev, as we'll see today, is a plant we mentioned yesterday, some type of plant or tree that was able to go straight down, and therefore it did not go ahead and take away from the nutrients of a fellow's property. And Yeshua used that to demarcate the shvatim. We said that if you're being koina nichse hager, which from hefker, so there's two fields A and B, and you have this demarcation, this meitzar chatzav in between. If you do a kinyan in one, you're not koina the other. That's what we said. And we had a machloikis regarding peya. Rav Asi in the name of Rabbi Yochanan said by peya it's not a division, and you'd only be chayav once. And Ravin in the name of Rabbi Yochanan says even by peya, and it will be a division. So therefore, you would have to go ahead and take off two. We said a lumdis le'inyan tuma. We said a field le'inyan, a field in the is a rishus hayachid in the winter season, because even though it's an open area, nonetheless people are diligent not to walk there to trample on the planted crops. So as a din rishus hayachid, and we had a shiloh that you had one of the fields of kever, and you walked in there. So Lo Rebbe Lazar, who said that it is a demarcation, it would have the din. You have a suffix. It's suffix whether you're in that field at all, suffix whether you touched it or not, or right, a suffix whether you touched it or not. However, like the Chachamim, it's only one suffix. So they held that what it was not Rebbe Lazar, the din of Tumah, this din of Machzar, a Chotzev, a Meitzar, being a line of demarcation, would be an nafkamina and halacha regarding the din of Tumah, of a suffix Tumah b'shayachid, whether it's a sveik or not. Well, today's daf, in the beginning, we're going to have a halacha of Shabbos. Okay, let's go over Hilchah Shabbos a little bit. We know there's something called Haitzah. We begin to say the Shabbos with Haitzah, the Malacha Gerua, because you haven't improved that object at all. You don't change in the object. We're supposed to most of the other malachas of avos, you do make a change in the object. Here you're just transporting it. You go from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. You have an akira, an uprooting in one Rishus and an hanach in the other Rishus. You will be chayav achatas. You will be chayav achatas b'shoygeg and b'mezid with edim b'chayav skila. Now, but if you go, let's say a following case, you have chatzi shir, like the chatzi shir. The Gemara is going to bring the case of a groigris. It's the Indianites saw we in Masechta Shabbos. They're blot and blot and blot of specific items. What's considered the shir to go in that saw? So the shir for food stuff is the shir of a groigris, a dried fig. So let's say you go ahead, you transport something, a groigris, a chatzi groigris, you bring it out from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. We know you are pata, because chatzi shir is pata avalasa, but you pata. Conversely, what happens the following? You would bring chatzi shir, and then right away you pick chatzi shir, you be chayav chatas, because we would combine the two chetzim together to mechayav me. That's if it goes in the same rishus. What happens if you're going in a different Rishus HaRabim? So let's say I had a Rishus HaRabim, and I had a demarcation, right? And I went in one half over here in this Rishus HaRabim and one half over here, you'd be pata. So that would be the example of by Hilchah Shabbos, whether this demarcation makes an nafkamina and halacha, inyan haitzah by chatzi shir, bringing it into different rishuyos. So that's in a nutshell the beginning sugya. Says the Gemara on Daf Nun Hey Amid Aleph, right? Aval Shabbos like five lines up. Aval Shabbos like, even if you're going to say by peya, it goes ahead and it is a division. And if you're going to say by Tumah, it is a division, similar to Nichse Hager. But by Shabbos, it's not. By Shabbos, it's not. Rava Amar, a feeling in Shabbos, it would be what? It would be a division. Even the Shabbos, we'd say the Meitzar and the Chatzav would be a division in Shabbos, the Tanya. Hoitzi Chatzi Groigris to Rishus HaRabim. If a person takes out half a fig, again, that's the share of Eitzah, of foodstuff in the Rishus HaRabim. Beinicha, and he puts it down, that's a Chatzi share. The Chazer, he returns, Vayitzi Chatzi Groigris, Acheres, and he goes ahead and brings out another Chatzi Groigris. Now, did he know that it was Shabbos? In order to be Chayiv Achatas, it has to be B'shogeg. In order to be B'shogeg, there's two possibilities. Either I forgot it's Shabbos, or I forgot that the Malacha is Asar. So let's say in this instance, he forgot it was Shabbos. So if he goes ahead and does this Behelam Echad, he takes a Chatzi Groigris, and he still forgot that it was Shabbos and the halama achas, halama lashon of hidden, salam to him. and he goes ahead and takes out another one, and and therefore you'd have two what? Two chatzis, groigris in Rishus Harabim, then you'd be chayiv behelam echas, you'd be chayiv achatas. B'shnei halamos. Let's say after he took out the first one, he was reminded that it was Shabbos. Consequently, he forgot, and he went ahead and took out the second one. Then he would be pater. Why? Because it's two halamos, and the helam, the fact that he had a yediyah in between, he had the knowledge that it was in Shabbos, but the demarcating, if you will, between the forgetfulness that it was Shabbos, and he remembered, that would go ahead and be mischalik, and therefore what you would be pater. Rabbi Yossi Omer a din behelam echad, if it's in one halama amid aleph, behalama achad, it's in one halama that it was what, that it was Shabbos, you forgot it was Shabbos, b'shus achas, and you bring the chatzi groigos out into one rishus, then chayev. B'shtei rishuyos pater. So here's your case, right? You have a rishus harabim, it's being divided, and you go ahead in one halama, you bring chetzi out to this side or chetzi out to that side. So there, that's how we have the application of the application of the din of meitzar and chotzeh by what? By Shabbos, not only by nichsi hager or by tuma or by peah. Okay, Rabbi Avi, we're up to nun vav amid aleph. Nun vav amid aleph. We're at the top. V'amar Rabba, says Rabba, or it could be Amar, right? Says Rabba. V'hu sheyesh chiyav chatas b'neihem. When would you be pater? That's if the dividing thing is a rishus hayachid, chiyav chatas. There are different rishuyos we saw in Masechta Shabbos by Haitzah. There is, let's just go off the top of my head. I can't think of three. There's rishus harabim, rishus hayachid. There's Carmelis, and there's the Makam Petur. So the dimensions of each one, 4 by 4, 10, Rishus HaYachid, 10 by 4, Rishus HaRabim, it's 16 amas, 600,000 people, and Makam Petur is less than that, a fire hydrant, a pisla, or a Carmelis is 4 by 4, or a big bika, a valley. These are the shiurim. So when we say that it divides to rishuyas, it has to be the thing that's dividing is something that if you go back and forth between, you would be chayiv achata. So therefore, only a rishus hayachid dividing up the rishus harabim would be machalik the rishuyas. That's what Rabbi says. However, avro carmelis, if what's dividing up the rishus harabim has a din of a carmelis, now the carmelis is bottled to this one and bottled to this one, and therefore I can say it's not a division. The avro carmelis loy, carmelis you be pata. You a carmelis. Avro carmelis what if it's a carmelis, then let's say it's a carmelis, and therefore this is only the Rabbanon. It's not considered to have sukkah to make 2 rishuyos. It's not considered to have sukkah to make 2 rishuyos. So therefore, what? It's nechshes is kind of rishus. Abaye feel carmelis. Even carmelis would be mafsik. Even carmelis would be mafsik. Then in order to make it 2 separate rishuyos. Avol pisla. Let's say you have a piece of eights, a piece of wood. I say an example of pisla, guys, would be a fire hydrant. A bisman is a fire hydrant when they didn't have a pisla. Avol pisla. If you have a pisla that's 10 tefachim and it's not wide 4 tefachim, it's high 10, not wide 4 tefachim. It's not considered a hefsek to make it 2 separate rishuyos. Rava Amar afil pisla. Rava would say even a pisla can make it 2 rishuyos, and therefore, if you carry into this one and this one, you would be pata. You'd be cold, Rabbi Abi. Because the Rava l'tanei, and Rava goes according to his reasoning that a pisla would divide. Dama Rava rishus Shabbos kirishus gittin dami. Rishus Shabbos is rishus gittin. Okay, guys. Right? How do you know? Guy says it doesn't only yad. We said even hachatzer, even a rishus. So you want to divorce your wife, not you. A person wants to divorce his wife. He goes ahead. He has a chatzer, and it's his property. He designates this property as his wife's chatzer. If he would put the get in there, she'd be divorced. Let's say there's a pisla. Let's say there's some type of piece of wood that's 10 tefachim but less than 4. He takes the get, he throws it in there, and now it's on top of the pisla. Even though he go ahead and designated the area around it to his wife, since the pisla is considered a separate rishus, she would not be divorced. So just like by get, the pisla is a separate rishus. Hu adin, a pisla inyan Shabbos would be a separate rishus. It would go ahead and divide it up, and therefore the din of chotza or meitzar. This is inyan Shabbos. That's Rava. Back on the Amid Aleph, guys. Back on the Amid Aleph, we began to share. Shabbos loy, it's not considered a division. Rava Amar, afil in Shabbos, it's considered a division. Even by Shabbos, it's considered a division. And here we have the application by Rava saying that what? It's a Rishus B'fnei Atzma, and therefore it's considered a division between two Rishuyos, that if you go into this one, according to Rava Yosi, you would be Pata. Okay. Says the Gemara, Vaz the Rava L'tamei Dama Rava, Rishus Shabbos, Rishus Dami. Okay, now, back to the regularly scheduled program, which is what discussing the Nichsei Hager. Ein sham loy meitzev loy chotzev. Mai. So the Rashbam learns this is going on Nichsei Hager, and Taisa seems to learn it's going on Tumah. It's going on Tumah. So anyway, like the Rashbam, let's go with Rashbam. Let's say you have field A and B, but there is no division, so it's only field A, but it's a huge expanse. How much do you acquire? How do you acquire it? How much do you acquire? It says, Ein sham le'meitzav le'chatzav mai, and if there is no divider, there is no of this grass there, then what's the din? Then what's the din? How much do you have to be machzik to be kind of the whole field? That's what the Rashbam learns. How much kinyan chazaka do you have to do in this to be kind of the whole field? Says the Gemara, Pirish Rabbi Merenis, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Mishmai, Kol Shenikres, Al Shemai, any part of the field that's called by his name, if you go take an udder, a hoe, a mara, and you make your makish in the ground, you will be kaina. As long as it's, in other words, using something contemporary. If you would go ahead and take a mara and put it down in Yazga's farm, right? Since it's called Yazga's farm, as long as whatever is called Yazga's farm, you'll be kaina. Right? It's called this farm. Whatever the name is, you give that name, that would work. So he says anything that's called, Marinus says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. For example, Hechidami, Amrapap with the Karilei, for example, they call it Bar Gusa de Planya. They call it the watering place of Planya. They call the place of water of Planya. That would go ahead, and one kinyan would work for that, as long as it's called by his name. Yosef Rav Acha bar Avia, Kamed Ravasi. Rav Acha was sitting. Bar Avia was sitting in front of Rav Asi. Yosef became a Mishmeid Rav Asi bar Chanina. Chatsuva mafsik b'nichsei hager. As we said, Chatsuva is mafsik b'nichsei hager. It's mafsik, in other words, to make it two fields. That if you make a kinyan in one, you don't acquire the other. That's what we said. Make a kinyan in one, you're not acquiring the other. My Chatsuva. Let's identify what exactly is the Chatsuva. My Chatsuva. What's considered a Chatsuva? Rav Yehuda Amarav Sheboy Techam Yisrael Es Haaretz. That's what Yeshua went ahead and used, and it's not the lashon is Techam Yeshua Yisrael Es Haaretz. He used that to demarcate the different shvatim. And what was unique about this? Look at the Rashbam. Sheboy Techam Ben Shevet LeShevet Ben Ish LeIsh. He used it between each separate shevet and between each separate person. Each person got his own parcel. You know what's unique about this plant, the chatzuva plant, the chatzav plant? If you she'eni yonik, it doesn't take nutrients. Lo mikan, only straight down. So therefore, it will be a very good one, useful line of demarcation. Okay, a little agadita, very little agadita, just very little agadita. Okay. Anyway, we know that Yeshua, we saw in the beginning of the Masechta that Daf Tesvav, that Yeshua wrote Sefer Yeshua, and he wrote certain things in. Yeshua, when you go look at Sefer Yeshua, he goes ahead and each nachla is given out. I think the Gemara Megillah says if not L'asad Love, I would still need Sefer Yeshua because of what? Because all of the land, exactly who got what, is in Sefer Yeshua. And Yeshua mentions different cities. So regarding the cities that he mentions, El Ayaros HaMedes Al Gvulin. He only mentions the cities that are standing by the Gvulim. Says Tosfos, Ein Lefarish Al Gvulim Shel Eretz Yisrael. It doesn't mean the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael. The Kami Yoris Choshev Shehem Be'ems Eretz Yisrael. There are quite a few cities that he mentions that we know are in Eretz Yisrael proper, not on the boundaries. Ela Begvulim Dechol Shevet V'Shevet. He only mentions the cities. No, he's mentioned many. There are many cities that he left out, but he mentioned the cities that are on the Gvulim of the various Shvatim. I'm going to review them as Shmuel. Kol she'areo Kadosh Baruch Hu Moshe chayev b'maisa. Anything that Kadosh Baruch Hu showed Moshe at the time of his death is what is chayev b'maisa. Let's see Rashbam here. Let's just read a little more. I'm sorry. Let's read a little more in the Gemara. Let's finish the Gemara. We'll go back. What's it coming to exclude? Okay, so in the Torah proper, after the Bris Bein HaBesarim, we're told in Perek Tesvav in Bereshis, Yomahu that day, Pasuk Yudches, Karas Hashem es Avram Bris Leimar, Kadosh Baruch Hu cut a deal with Avram saying, "L'zaracha to your children Nasati I've given Esaretz Esais Min Har Mitzrayim Ad Nahar Gadol Na'Pros Es Hakeni count Es Hakeni Ves Haknizi Ves Hakadmoini." Those are three, and the next pasuk Chiti Prisi Refoyim. That's count of Kananim. Ves Amori Ves Haknani Ves Gegoshi Ves Yivasi 7. So we always think about the Zion Umais when we speak about the destruction of the mitzvah of like Sechaya Kol Neshama. It's in the Zion Umais. Yet, in fact, you have a list over here, of 10. You have a list over here of 10, and the ones that don't seem to be counted is the Keni, Kenisi, and Kadmoni. Our Gemara, the Torah Shebal Peh, comes to go ahead and identify who are the Keni, Kenisi, and Kadmoni. Says our Gemara. My Lafuke, Keni, Kenisi, Kadmoni. They're Chayiv in Maisa. Whatever Moshe went up and saw is Chayiv in Maisa. Keni, Kenisi, Kadmoni or not. Tanya, Reb Meir Omer, what is Keni, Kadmozi? What are they? It's Naftucha, Arava, Vishalma. Reb Yehuda Omer, Harseir, Ammon, Moav. Reb Shimon Omer, Ardiskim, Asya, Vaspamaya. Okay, so these places, look at, we don't know what they are. I mean, Rashbam says, Tanya, Reb Meir Omer, Kulu Hani Tanoi, Beferish the Kine Kinesi Kadmoni Pliny. They're all arguing what exactly is the land of Kine Kinesi and Kadmoni. So let's see the Rashbam before. Chayv Meiser, the Haim Zayin Amamim. What he saw, Moshe saw, are the Zayin Amamim. Aksuvim B'chol Makan, that are written in every single place. Achiti, Chivi, Yevusi, Gegoshi, the ones that you say in B'chos Mabris every single day. Aval Kani Kiz V'Kadmoni Shenasnu L'Avram Avinu. The Bris Bein HaBesarim, the ones we just mentioned that were given to Avram by the Bris Bein HaBesarim, lo yischayivu b'maisa la'asad lavoi. They will not be chayiv b'maisa in the future. K'she'achrizim lanu, when they return to us la'asad. In the future, in the times of Mashiach, we're going to get these lands back, and when we get them back, they won't be chayiv b'maisa. K'da'oma b'reishis Rabbah, like we said in Bereshis Rabbah. So that's one pshat. Okay, inami, another pshat. In kavshu Yisrael mehem. Achrei Moshe Yeshua, if Moshe would capture, if Yeshua would after Yisrael would capture after the death of Yeshua, they would be put from Maisa. Yechsev Hasam, Zois Oretz Hashem Nishpati, Zois Lamute Hani Shenetusu Avram Ala Shvua. That was added on to the Shvua Keni Rabbeinu that these will not be what Chayev, even if they captured after the death of Yeshua, they will not be counted. So those Lasad Lavai. Well, from one pshat Lasad Lavai, they won't be Chayev. And another pshat, even if they're captured in this world after the time of Yeshua, the death of Yeshua, they will not be counted. Okay, the next Mishnah. Now we know that in Devarim Yates, the Pasha of Eidim Zaymimim. If two people say Eidus on an individual that you did such and such, let's say you killed somebody in Detroit, and two Eidim come along and say, how could you say you killed such and such on this day and date and this in Detroit? At this time, you were with us in Chevron. So obviously what? They didn't say that the guy didn't kill. They said that you couldn't have testified they didn't kill. That's Eidim Zaymim. Edim Akchasha would be two people come and say that this guy killed in Detroit, and two people come and say this guy killed in Haverstraw. In other words, that would be Edis Mukeshes Zeh if it's on the same date, the same time. But Imanu Yisem would be what, or more classic. Two people say you did kill in Detroit. Two people say you didn't kill in Detroit. Okay, that's Akchasha. But these Edim Zaymim, so we're going to have a din of Edim Zaymim in the Mishnah, quite, very, very clear Mishnah, and Bez Hashem, we'll get to most of it tomorrow. Says the Mishnah, you have two people that testify that this person, he satisfied the din of Chazaka, that he was on the field for 3 years. The Nimsu Zaymim, and the Fatim Zaymim. How could you have testified that he was on that field for 3 years when you were with us in another place for 3 years? In other words, there's no way you were there to testify. Because why? Because you were with us in this other place. Not, so A, the machzik would have to give back the field to the owner, because there was no chazaka, and these Eidim would have to pay the owner of the field the price of the field, because that's what they wanted to cost them. They wanted to go ahead and say that this person was machzik, and the field is not yours, correct? If that's the case, the machzik has no Eidim whatsoever, that he had shani chazaka, has to return the field, and the Eidim Zayimim would have to pay the owner of the field the price of the field. Another case, Shnayim b'Rishoina, you have two Eidim on year 1, Shnayim b'Shniya, two Eidim in year 2, Ushnayim b'Shlishis, and two Eidim in year 3. Amid Beis, Mishalshin beinehem, you'll go ahead, they're mitzarif, and therefore they would be good Eidim. Memela, if they're all found to be Zaymimim, each one would have to pay a third of the price of the field. Good. Shloisha Achim, 3 brothers, the Echad mitzarif imahem. So you have Mo, Larry, and Curly. Mo is in year 1, and there's another person's mitzarif. Larry is in year 2, and that same person's mitzarif. And Curly is in year 3, and that same person is mitzarif. If you look at one whole, it will be possible edis. But if you view each year as an entity by itself, then you have, because Mo is testifying year 1, Larry year 2, and Curly year 3, so they're not going ahead. I have no idea why Mo, Larry, and Curly. Perhaps it's because Kenny's T-shirt is infamous, that Curly T-shirt that I think he burnt with the chametz one year. Anyway, so Shloisha Achim, the Echad mitzarif imahem, hari elu sholish idiyos. They are 3 idiyos. Ve'hin edus achas la'azama. They will be edus achas la'azama. So if they were mezim, the one who was combined with all of them would have to pay half, and the other ones would pay a 1/6. Guys, you have with these 3 guys, you have this one guy, right? So now they all were Muslim. So this guy he's got to pay half, and these guys each one play a 1/6, right? A 6, 2, 3 6 is a half, right? Good. Now, then says the Mishnah. Masisa like Rabbi Akiva. The Mishnah is not like Rabbi Akiva. The Tanya. Rabbi Yossi says Rabbi Yossi. Shaholach Abba Chalafta, Eitzel Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Lumud Torah. When Abba Chalafta went after Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri to learn Torah, the Imila Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Eitzel Abba Chalafta Lumud Torah. Amaloi Harishach l'Shana Rishayna b'fnei Shnayim, Shniya b'fnei Shnayim, Shlishis b'fnei Shnayim. Mahu. So Amaloi Harizu Chazaka. That's a full-fledged Chazaka. That's like our Mishnah. Right? That each aid can testify on a year b'fnei atzmo. Amaloi, afani oimakain. So whoever it was Rech Nuri or Abba Chalafta, I also said so. El Rabbi Kiva chaylik b'davazeh. The holy Rabbi Kiva, the heaviest hitter in Klal Yisrael, he disagrees. So Rabbi Kiva oimer davar v'loy chatzi davar. Davar al pishnayim edim yakum davar. Through the testimony of one person, the matter will be resolved, and not chatzi davar. So Rabbi Kiva is of the opinion that each one saying on a third of it is only half the matter, meaning it's not the full edus. Rashi says, Rabbi Kiva oimer davar al pishnayim edim yakum davar sholem yishtalem kalamamin al pi edim ashnayim davar sholem, the whole amount yishtalem. but not what? V'lechatzi davar. Kol kat b'chat eina me'ida el al shlish hachazaka. Each one is only testifying on a third of the chazaka. V'aynu shlish davar. V'lei davar shalem. It's not a complete thing. Peil bein shnei edim me'idim al kol agimel shnayim. Says Rabbi Akiva, when it says al pishnai me'idim yakum davar, the whole davar has to be testified upon. You're testifying on a year of chazaka. If it's a third, and a third, that's not davar. That's a third davar. It's not dafka. It's not dafka third or chatzi. As long as it's not shalem, it's not kashal edis. As long as it's not davar, complete davar, it's not kashal edis. That's what Rabbi Akiva's opinion is. I mean, that's what the halacha is. The question is, what constitutes davar v'lechatzi davar? So here we have a problem over here. We have Rabbi Yochanan ben Duri Abba Chalafta saying, guess what? This is not a case of davar v'lechatzi davar. Apparently, Rabbi Akiva is right. Let's look at the whole. In order to have a chazaka, you need 3 years. So if you're not testifying all 3 years, that's not davar. If you're not testifying all 3 years, that's not davar. Therefore, it's not good. So what's pshat in Abba Chalafta and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the others that say it is good? So we're going to get a definition today of davar v'lechatzi davar. Good, very good. Says the Gemara. The Rabbanon who disagree, in this case, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri or Chalafta, Hai davar lechatzi davar my ovid lay. What do they do? Because obviously holds 3 years, and a person testifying the third is the complete davar, right? My avdile ilay malamute echad oimer. Okay, now we know for a woman to be a girl to be a woman in the halacha, she has to bring shtei sarais. The shtei sarais usually on the in the makam erva. That's usually where the shtei sarais are. Good. So let's say you have one aide saying she saw a hair on her back, and one said we saw one on her stomach. It's a nice lashon for oisei makon, the vaginal area. Hi chatzi dava. That's not chatzi dava. Chatzi edisu. In other words, if one says one on the back side and one says one on the front side, no one is testifying on the same thing. It's not this. That's not chatzi dava. That's chatzi edus. You don't have 2 here and 2 here, right? You have 1 here, 1 here. That's not chatzi davar. That's chatzi edus. That can't be the case of davar lechatzi davar like the chachamim. So therefore, that can't be the case. Elaim with the achas begabav echadam achas bekreisa. Hi chatzi davar. Take out the vav. Chatzi edus. It's chatzi edus. Ella lemute shnayim achas begabav ushnayim achas bekreisa. One says 2 say on the back and 2 say on the front. That would be a case one of davar v'lechatzi davar. So 2 in the back, 2 in the front. That would be a case of davar v'lechatzi davar. Now, what's the distinction between this case with davar v'lechatzi davar loiter rabbanon and the case of shani chazaka 1/3, 2/3, 3/3 is not davar v'lechatzi davar. In other words, what exactly is the distinction? The rabbanon is saying 2 here, 2 here is chatzi davar, yet by edus of chazaka, l'chayra, they're not saying on all 3, they're only saying on a 3rd. In other words, I understand Rabbi Akiva's taina very, very much. What exactly is the difference? Guys, hear the kasha one more time. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, I'm just picking one. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says you could accept edus. 2, the guy says 2 here, another 2 here, another 2 here. None of them are saying on the complete 3 years. Each one's speaking on a third. Says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that is great. That is davar. That's the complete matter. Yet, if you want to go ahead and be made whether a girl is a woman, yes, and mitzvahs. If you have 2 on the back and 2 on the front, so that's you don't have 2 on where it's supposed to be, and that's chatzi davar. Why? What's the difference? So the Rashbam, let's see the Rashbam inside. We have time. Let's see the Rashbam inside and Taisus inside. The Rashbam is when the lines get semi-wide. Count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7, 8 lines down. Elem kain. It's only davar elem kain yeshna biyachad. It's together. V'cholkat v'chat yochel lirois beis hasarois. Each one is able to go ahead and see both sarois. They'll be yachid hoya nimsa. They were there at the same time. Shekol kat edish shel chatzi davar me'idin. V'chol echad eina meyit shi gedayla el chatzi simone gedayla re'inu. Aval gimel. Okay, in other words, by shtei sarois, you could have possibly seen both sa'arim, but you didn't. They were both present. There was one present on the front and one present on the back. In other words, if these Eidim would have said, we saw one in the back and one in the front, right? You would have had a woman. If two Eidim would have said, I saw one on the back side, one on the front side, that would be a complete Eidis. So you have two Eidim saying there was one Seir on the front. You have two Eidim saying there's one Seir in the back. Was it possible for these Eidim to see both? Of course it was. They were both present at the same time. All you had to do was look at the front and look at the back. They were both there. Therefore, that's Chatzi Davar. What about 3 years? Aval Gimel Shani says the Rashbam. Aval Gimel Shani Chazaka Dimas Nisan. The Gimel Shani of our Mishnah of the right that third. She'en Yechaylon Liyos. Ki im bizeh achazeh. You can't have them at the same time. They have to be what? One after the other. Umisha rotza achila shanazu and yachal derash shana shniya. It's not there yet. Unless Ellen came shaya shana. In other words, he saw everything that's possible to see. Says the Rashbam a lumdis like this. When do we say davar v'loy chatzi davar? When you could have been made on the whole thing and you didn't. When don't you say davar v'loy chatzi davar? Was as much as you could have been made on, you are. I can't be made on year 3 or 2 if it's only year 1. I can't be made on year 2, because there's no year 3. In other words, I can only be made on what's in front of me. Then you don't say that's a complete davar. That's the lumdis according to Rashbam. Davar v'lechatzi davar is when the cholios, the ability to testify on the whole, was there and you didn't. Where there was no possibility of testifying the whole, you testified on completely what you completely see. A complete year, that's davar. Okay, that's the Rashbam. Taisus is much more simpler. The Taisus elamute shnayim moimim echad b'gaba. Let's look at Taisus. V'leidami le'edis 1, 2, about 4 lines down. V'leidami le'edis chazaka. The hacha ein edusan edis beloy edis beis achroinim. The ein, in other words, the ein moyel l'shum davar ba'olam. You in order by the woman, your edis doesn't do anything. If you say 2 on here in the back, it doesn't mean a thing. If you say 2 here in the front, it doesn't mean a thing. Each one needs the other. Good? Now, what are you going to ask me? Doesn't the year of Shani Chazaka each one need the other? Again, by Eidis on an Isha, the Eidis alone means nothing. This on one here, this on the other here, means nothing. That's Davav Lechatzi Davar. But where the Eidis itself means something, then it's a complete Davar. Now, what are you going to ask? That when it's Swat, Gimel Shanim L'char, they need each other. Continues Taisvais. The here and the here. If 2 people see on year 1, even though it can't mean anything linyan chazaka, because you need the other 2. Mikol makoim nafkamina be'edusan l'shlumei peri v'dava shalem hu. Fellas, let's say a guy says edis that this person ate his peris on 1 year. Is that edis? Will this guy have to pay the owner of the field for his peris? Yes, he does. In other words, the edis on 1 year serves a 2-fold purpose. it says, what's the twofold purpose? One, it's the first year of Eidi Chazaka, and regarding that, it's Chatzi Davar. But also, it goes ahead, it impacts that if there's no other Eidis 2 and 3, the person who's squatting and eating the Paris is going to have to reimburse the owner of the field. On that, it's a complete Davar. On that, it's a complete Davar. That's Taisvis. That's Taisvis Pshat. It says Taisvis, it's very geschmack. The way it works is like this. So let's just reiterate. Like the Rashbam, what's the difference between the Eidus on the woman and the Eidus on here? Like the Chachamim. Rabbi Kiva doesn't make a distinction. It's both cases Dava Lechatzi Dava. But like the Rabbanan, who say that what? Dava Lechatzi Dava, let's go ahead and explain. By Eidus on the woman, about the ability to go ahead and be made on both. Of course, there was here in the front and here in the back, and you didn't. That's the Chatzi Davar. Masha'en Kain, Eidus Chazaka, all you could have testified was in front of you, and you did. I testified this guy was on the field for 1 year. 2 and 3 didn't happen yet. That's and therefore it's a complete davar. Says Taisvis, I have a different distinction, a much more simple distinction. What's that? If my Eidus does something, then it's a davar. If my Eidus does nothing without the other Eidus, then it's chatzi davar. In order to go ahead and make this girl a woman, what do we have to do? We need a backside and a front side. We need 2 Eidim saying on both. We only have 2 Eidim on one. These 2 Eidim on one, without these 2 Eidim on 2, are nothing. Since that exists, therefore it's what? It's chatzi davar. What about the field? What about the field? So you'll ask the same thing. The field, without year 2 guy and year 3 guy, year 1 guy, linya chazak is nothing. That's true. But his Eidus does accomplish something. It will be mechayiv the machzik, the squatter, to go ahead and pay back the owner of the field, because he ate Paris. If you're not going to have shani chazaka, you're going to have to reimburse him for Paris. On that, you have a complete Eidus. Therefore, therefore it's davar for lechatzi. Therefore it's a complete davar and not a chatzi davar. Beautiful places, beautiful machlokes and svar. Let's finish up. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda. One says that you eat chitim and eat soyim. Here's the havamina, guys. The havamina is the following. You saw year 135, he saw 246. I saw you eat wheat 135, and you saw him eat what? You saw him eat barley on years 246. That's the havamina. Harzu chazaka. Maskul of Nachman. Elamiyata. Echadayma achli b'shayna shlishis chamishis. One says 135. Because that's the havamina. It must be that he couldn't have been eating chitim and soyim at the same time, because that would be a mucheshes. You seem simultaneously, you say chitim, you say soyim. They're weakening each other. So it can't be speaking that they're being made on 3 years, and they ate, and the same 3 years they ate the same different crop. That would be matching each other. So it must be they're speaking what? On 6 different years, 135, 246. Year 135, he ate wheat, and 246, he ate barley. Amaler Fuda, Hachi Hashta. Hasam over there, Bishated the Kamasid Mar, like Kamasid Mar. If this guy's testifying year 135, the other guy's testifying on 246. So you don't have Edis. Hacha, over here, Travaya B'Chodeshasa Kamasid. Over here, the 2 Edim, the one who said wheat and the one said barley, they're testifying on the same land at the same time. In other words, it's year 1, year 2, year 3. Edis Mucheshes. This guy says barley, this guy says wheat. Right? Michael Meima ben Kitil Sarve, lava that title, didn't she? People don't make the distinction. Like, tell me, if you would show me barley, you would show me wheat. I cannot tell you the difference. Maybe in a cholent, I could show you the difference between barley and wheat, which you don't even. Barley is maybe in the wheat's in the kishka, right? You don't even see the wheat. So as a person. So in other words, in the havamina, you were saying on different. And if you have Adis over here, 1 Adis here, it's nothing. No, it's Adis and 3. And in that 3 year of chazaka, one was eating barley, one was eating and barley and wheat, and people did not go ahead and they weren't makbid.